What happens when we faint? Fainting, or to use the more scientific term, syncope, is quite common, but the science behind it has remained a mystery. Until recently, the scientific response to this question was, "We're not entirely sure." A new study has shed light on this mystery, identifying for the first time the genetic pathway between the brain and heart that is responsible for fainting. Fainting is quite common, with approximately 40% of us experiencing it at least once in our lives, and it can be a response to various situations such as overheating, the sight of blood or needles, and even a particularly challenging bowel movement, to name a few examples. Researchers explain what happens when we faint. The conventional view among neuroscientists has been that during an episode of syncope, the brain sends signals to the heart, and the heart responds accordingly. The difference brought by this new study is that researchers have started to consider the heart as its own sensory organ, and they hypothesize that this communication could work both ways, according to IFL Science. What we're finding is that the heart also sends signals back to the brain, which can change the brain's functioning, said lead author Vineet Augustin, assistant professor at the School of Biological Sciences at the University of California, San Diego, USA, in a statement. The team turned to a very old science to guide their research. In 1867, the Bezold-Jarisch reflex, BJR, was first described, a cardiac reflex believed to be associated with fainting. It is associated with three classic symptoms that anyone who has ever fainted will recognize: a decrease in heart rate, respiratory rate, and blood pressure. Even though scientists have known about BJR for over 150 years, there was still much to learn about the neural pathways underlying it. The research targeted a specific type of nerve cells called vagal sensory neurons, VSN, in the heart. VSNs are part of groups called nodosei ganglia, themselves part of the vagus nerve. Experiments on mice showed that a subset of VSNs expressing a protein called neuropeptide Y receptor Y2, NPY2R, plays a key role in the fainting response. When scientists stimulated these VSNs using optogenetics, the mice sitting quietly in their cages suddenly fainted. Similar to humans, their eyes rolled back, and pupils dilated. All the characteristic signs of BJR were present: a decrease in heart rate, slower breathing, and low blood pressure. Recordings from thousands of neurons in the mice's brains showed that blood flow and brain activity rapidly decreased. We were amazed when we saw their eyes roll back at the same time as their brain activity rapidly dropped. Then, after a few seconds, brain activity and movement returned. That was our eureka moment, suggesting we might find neurons that can trigger syncope, said Augustin and Jonathan W. Lovelace, the first author of the study. Their suspicions were confirmed when eliminating those specific VSNs eliminated the fainting response. Researchers hope that this discovery will now lead to even deeper research and targeted treatments for conditions that cause fainting. Neuroscientists have long believed that the brain is the driver of fainting, but now that scientists have discovered this new and important role of the heart, it is clear that both cardiac specialists and neurologists will work together if we ever want to truly unravel the mystery of syncope.